On the OU football front, spring game is a week and a half away. Next Saturday, April 23rd. Brent Venables wants you all there. He called us all out at his press conference. Once the fans there, I'm going to try to go.
Boots on the ground, baby.
I'm going to try to boots on the ground, mainly because I want to see Baker Mayfield and his statue, but also because I want to support BV. I want to support that team, and I get where he's coming from. I really did. You see Texas A&M spring game, by the way? That pathetic crowd. Oh, that stadium holds 100,000. They had maybe 20 there. Yeah, it's a joke.
Imagine making $120,000 to come to this school, and they don't even fill the stand for this spring game.
I don't know if OU will sell out Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium, but I think they'll have at least 60. I think they could bring 60 in,
and that's what I'm curious about, because usually they don't open the top bowl for spring games, and I think the bottom bowl caps at 60. So I'm curious.
I think they're going to have to open 60, I think to put their money where their mouth is, they're going to have to open everything and just say, look, this is what we're doing. Matt, do you have something? You look like you want to jump in.
No, I'm sad that the other half of the boys, we planned a trip on the same weekend. Not knowing the spring game was going to be that weekend. It would have been a good opportunity for all of us to get together, obviously to see the unveiling of Baker's statue. And like you said, BV's calling people out. So I just wanted to see what the crowd would actually be, the turnout, which I think is going to be a good response. The spring game, has never been very important in the past. So hopefully it's a big turnout.
I think a good bar to maybe set in fans' mind is remember the year after the Sugar Bowl, Trevor Knight's Sugar Bowl, how many fans were there for that spring game. It was a good amount. I think that's a safe assumption. I think you'll probably get the same amount. Mark, I think I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, you didn't. It's something that I actually worry about a little bit. Just, are people going to roll out for the spring game, knowing that it's a competition among yourselves? Yeah. I don't understand why we're not doing it at night. That's something that would be.
I feel like it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer, man.
I don't understand. I just don't get it.
I don't get it.
Has any other program done a night spring? I'm just curious if anyone else has ever done it.
I think that happens.
But like,
what other schools?
Yeah, I'm sure other schools do. But like, what else are you doing? You're not doing anything else on that Saturday night. Why not? It just
put it under the lights, and people are going to come. Mm-hmm. Like, it's happening.
Yeah, and I bring this up because we talking about the spring game. Spring game's a week and a half away. I was listening to the Huddle. Great show hosted by Toby Rowland, Teddy Lehman. They have guests on every week. Check that show out if you haven't before. They had Cale Gundy on this week, and Cale Gundy had some pretty interesting things to say. I just wanted to run them by you guys. He said, quote, Lebby has the best grasp of the offense of any offensive mind I've ever been around. Lincoln Riley was the most creative, but Lebby knows exactly what each guy is supposed to be doing on every play, from the offensive linemen to the receivers. I found that quote very telling because Cale Gundy was very careful with the words that he chose. He knew what he was saying. He knew how it was going to come off. And I think he's not wrong, because I think we all know Lincoln Riley didn't give a crap about that offensive line when he was here. And Jeff Lebby, being a former offensive lineman himself, knowing the offense, his offense as well as he does, I think is massive. I think it's a huge thing that OU fans need to be excited about.
I agree. I think it's really interesting. Lincoln was the most creative, but Lebby knows exactly what each guy's supposed to be doing. See, that makes me think maybe we're not going to get Lincoln style craziness, but just consistency, man. Just consistency. We're not going to lose steam in the second half of every single game because he can't figure out what plays he wants to run. Yeah. Because the thing about Lincoln is the team was always an avatar for him to show off his coaching. And that's how he treated it. It wasn't about finding a rhythm to win the game and move on. It was, hey, here's this cool thing I came up with. We're going to do this. Hey, here's this other cool thing. Hey, I can do this.
I'll leave this open for everybody. Mark brings up a really good point. And the more you think back on it, the more it kind of makes sense in my mind. Did anybody ever feel like there was really like game plans as much as Lincoln just calling the plays that he wanted to call, and not like attacking weaknesses as much as just calling the plays that he wanted. Like a game plan, you're supposed to figure out what the defense is worst at and attack that. And I don't think he ever did that. I think he just did what he wanted to do and he knew that he was good at, and that's throw the ball.
So in his defense, in the offense's defense, there was when we were playing well, there was always a consistent dedication to running the football and predicating the offense off of running the football. And we had great backs. And then we started getting backs or people who weren't Samaje Perine, Joe Mixon, Rodney Anderson, even. I don't know. Kennedy Brooks, Rodney Anderson.
Yeah.
Great players, but not Samaje or Joe, whatever. And he just kind of went away from it here and there. And so I can't even really speak to that much.
Yeah. The old standoff. Yeah, I guess I'll hit it.
Waiting for you, Tyler.
Yeah, listen, I think we've heard a couple of these quotes the past couple months, so I'm just ready to see it in action. I just want the consistency because I think a lot of the times it looks like in the first half we are just absolutely dominating teams, and then in second half of big games against Baylor, against OSU, we looked totally lost on the offensive side of the ball. So not exactly sure what goes into that, but I do want to see some more consistency in both halves of the football game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said this either last week or the week before, but I love how it seems to me like they're very focused on the offensive line and the defensive line and really just like the line of scrimmage itself and making sure that, we dominate on both sides of it. Yeah. And I felt like our old defense and our old offense really didn't focus on that. I'm not saying it wasn't good, but it was different. And I think when you see a team like Alabama and Georgia and what they're able to do on the line, we have to be able to counteract that. So I love the approach that they're taking, but I agree with Gay, and I want to see it in action because right now it's all optics.
Go ahead, Mark. Sorry. Well, I also think just on one of the things Ryan said, I don't think the players were not necessarily built for it. Like Isaiah Thomas was built for it. Perion Winfrey is built for it. But Alex Grinch has them slanting all different directions during every play instead of allowing them to own a gap and run their man off the ball. Right. So just one thing that I thought about while you were saying that, that's all is we've had some guys, but coaches have put them in weird positions.
Yeah. Cale Gundy also mentioned that no one on the field, offense or defense, has a complete grasp on anything yet. And I think that's very telling. And I think fans need to know that before going into the spring game, expecting to see, the Jeff Lebby show or the Brent Venables dominating defense. I think people need to understand that these kids are still learning and they're still trying to figure out the concepts of everything. And even the coaching staff is admitting on television, they're saying not everyone knows what they're doing yet. And that's really okay. And that's what this spring game is going to be about. Also, he mentioned Oklahoma. Cale Gundy is a guy who's an OU lifer. He's been here forever, played here, coached here for a long time. For those who don't know, Oklahoma football is in as good of a place as we've ever been in my entire time here as a coach or player, end quote. That's a big statement from a guy in Cale Gundy who's been around in the 80s or in the 90s, who's been around for the Bob Stoops era, who's around for Lincoln Riley and went to college football playoffs. And now we're here. That's a massive statement from a guy who his words mean a lot. So I think that's exciting.
And he's mindful of things like that when he speaks. He knows the air that he breathes when he walks into those buildings, right?
He's a guy who's coached every position on the offensive side of the ball. Like he's one of the more knowledgeable guys on the team, on the staff. So when he speaks and he tells you something, you better believe that it's a fact. Like he's not joking.